Alrighty. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Philip with one L. Welcome back to I Digress, the podcast where I rant, I rave, I may even ramble, but ultimately, I digress. Today's episode is called My Creative Comeback Healing from Art School, Abuse, and Trauma, which sounds dramatic because it kind of is. Even if you didn't go to art school, but you just took a class or you learned, artists have been lied to. We've been brainwashed. For some of us, like especially those of us who went to art school, a lot of us had a very traumatic, abusive experience in art school that stunted our growth as artists. It stifled and blocked our creativity. And I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what happened that was so fucked up and wrong. And I want to talk about how that has affected my creativity, our creativity. And I want to talk about what I'm doing now to rehab my artistry, rehabilitate my creativity, and emerge as the artist that I am and I'm meant to be and I want to be, because I literally don't know how to live life without being creative, and yet I find myself 9 times out of 10 not being creative, and it is leading me to really feeling unfulfilled and like I'm floating. It's just not cute. It's not cute. So maybe you didn't go to art school, maybe you never took a class, maybe you didn't have a negative experience, but you're still experiencing some form of creative blockage. Hopefully you'll get something out of this. I also think about some people I went to art school with who, like, while we were there, decided that like art, or creativity wasn't really for them. But I honestly truly feel in my heart, if you were at the art school, you're a creative for life and you don't have to pursue a career in something to be an artist or be creative in your life. And I hope that anyone who went to, especially my art school, Douglas Anderson School of the Arts, or my college, Florida State, I hope that whether or not you're actively pursuing a career, I hope that you're being creative. You didn't wind up in that space as a child for no reason, is what I'm trying to say. Also, we've been lied to about what being a successful artist is and all that stuff. We'll get to that. Without further ado, let's get started. I want to start by talking about the dark side of art school. So I went to a really, for lack of better terms, ghetto middle school. It was a very, very low income middle school. It was just a very bad environment. I just remember being fearful all the time because I was so bullied. I was getting called gay and faggot and girly and all this, other stuff before I even really knew, I was just existing. When everyone is saying X, Y, and Z about you, you're like, well, I guess there is something, going on here. And of course, I knew I was different. I always knew I was different. But because of the hostile environment my middle school was, or at least that's how it felt, I saw kids get their heads slammed in the lockers, getting their head stomped in the ground, fights, like really bad fights. And I was so scared to get in a fight. Looking back, I kind of wish I would have gotten in a fight and seen how like not serious it is, and then like lived a little more freely, and just like not fearful. It was also this weird thing because in middle school, I was creative. I was on the morning announcements. I was in the school plays, and people thought I was hilarious. This is definitely, where that kind of like gay kid trope came out, where, you start to use your brain to like hone your comedic timing so that you can use it as a defense mechanism and people will like you and stuff. I digress. The point is, it was very weird in middle school. It was like, even my best friend, there was kind of like bully energy. It was just weird. And people wanted to be my friend. I remember people would see me in the hallway and they'd be like, hey, you the kid from the morning announcements. Ain't you gay? Like, it would be this thing where it was like, hey, you're so cool, do like the little bro like thing. And then they'd be like, but you're fruity. So it would be like positive, and then it would end on this like sour note. All that to say, I had a very bad middle school experience, honestly, like terrible. And I was becoming suicidal towards the end of it. And I was so glad that I got accepted into Douglas Anderson School of the Arts, the art school in my town for high school, because I truly felt if this audition didn't go well and I didn't get accepted, I just had this feeling that if I had to go to my neighborhood school with these same kids, I was gonna kill myself, which is sad, but that's legitimately how I felt at that time. So I got in, and I don't remember when this was, but in my mind, this was literally like the first day of school. The first day of middle school, terrifying. terrifying. Are you kidding? I just got out of elementary school. I'm in middle school. There's like kids that look like 7 feet tall. It was just scary. It was scary. My first day of high school obviously felt very nervous. Oh my God, I'm in the big kid land, like for real, for real. But then I remember like being in the cafeteria and there were like these two gay guys, a white guy, a black guy, and they were having a walk-off, sashaying up and down the aisle, and everyone in the cafeteria is, I'm talking rabid, like cheering and like laughing and screaming and like rooting, and like it was pandemonium in like a positive way. And I was like, oh, this is some different shit. This is art school, okay? I didn't even know at that point that there were people that were like okay with gay people. Like, I don't know. It was just such a different time back then. And so very quickly, I noticed that my peers were not an issue. In middle school, it was like you trip over something, everyone's laughing at you, making fun of you. That energy was not there at the arts high school. I felt like everyone was a lot more mature. Everyone was there for their art. Like, it was chill. Like, everyone was just like doing their own thing. There was a sense of kumbaya, you know. Little did I know, the bullying was very much present and maybe worse, but it was gonna be coming from the teachers. I want to start by addressing the darkest elephant in the room, is that there was sexual abuse going on from teachers to students. Even when I was in, I think it was the very beginning of 10th grade, this English teacher got arrested. She got arrested for sleeping with a student who was 17 years old. She had been my English teacher in freshman year. This obviously caused a whole lot of hoopla on Facebook and, you know, maybe even MySpace. I think MySpace was still kind of kicking at that time. But when I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, why were the senior guitar boys always hanging out in her portable? You know, at the time you're like, she's the cool teacher. Oh yeah. And now you know one piece of information that changes the whole perception. I had this hoe's number, you know what I'm saying? Even to this day, I think last year there was a teacher who was the head of like a department arrested for sexual abuse. I don't want to get too into that topic because it's just so very dark, but there was the worst kind of abuse going on. If that was going on, you can only imagine what was actually out in the open. You know what I'm saying? I was struggling with depression, okay? That started when I was like 15. Chronic depression, family stuff, being a teenager. It was all too much, too much. And school just felt really difficult. And it sucked because when I was young, I was such a star student. I was just a star. When I remember being in elementary school and just like being that kid, like I was so cool. I was so sweet. I was so loving. I was just a ball of light, like a ray of sunshine. The teachers loved me, like my peers loved me. Like it was just like I was good energy. Middle school really did a number on me, and then high school it was just too much. The academic teachers were always like feuding and beefing with the arts teachers because they're like, they need to do this, and they're like, well, they have a commitment to this art. And then we took the brunt of it because sometimes it felt, at least in my perception, this is just what I recall, but like I feel like there were times where it felt like we were getting assignments or tests to spite our art department because we had a commitment or, you know, a rehearsal or something, this and that. I digress. I was a theater major. Don't know, maybe that was obvious. But we endured psychological and emotional abuse, and I specifically was bullied by this woman. You can ask anyone that was in my class. They will tell you. The head of our theater department, and I'm not even gonna name drop her because she's not even that important, but she was a bully. A bully. We were scared every day. We walked on eggshells. She was just unpredictable. She was a tyrant. I mean, I saw this woman bully other teachers in the hallway. She was crazy. And of course, now it's like you're grown up and you look back and you like have just a better worldview and perspective. I've traveled and I've lived and I've da 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 da. And I understand like this woman was miserable because she never achieved her dreams and she became a teacher, decided to stay miserable and take her grief out on the most vulnerable subjects available, which are children, which is so fucked up. She was Miss Trunchbull, basically. Actually, that's very accurate. Like, she just had this voice and she just like, you know, fucking waddled through the hallways, always on one. I mean, she was telling girls they need to lose weight. I think she chose me to bully of my class because when I was an underclassman, like when I was like in 9th, 10th grade, I showed a lot of promise. She even helped me get cast in a show when I was in 10th grade, whatever. And then I became depressed and my motivation in school, I just didn't care. Girl, like the fiery hoops they wanted us kids to jump through, and certain people did do it. I wasn't doing all that. I wasn't kissing ass. I was getting by, okay? I was like, I'm not here for all this woo 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 hee hee hee. I'm not here for the drama. I'm not here to kiss my teachers' asses when they're fucking assholes. I'm not here to do all that. I'm here to learn about art and grow as an artist and be creative and like have a good time with my friends, honestly. Anyway, I just think it irked her. Obviously, something she saw in me reminded her of herself, yada yada yada, all the higher spirituality shit. But the way our art school, at least the theater program, functioned was kind of like a BFA education and a college acting program. It was like you and your class, you know, would take these classes. Like freshman year, we're taking voice and movement and acting A and stagecraft, and sophomore year it's like acting B, and then at the end of every year you have your juries where you like prepare a monologue, like, or two contrasting monologues, whatever. I don't remember the details, but you get the gist, and you have to perform it for the acting teachers. It was just so serious, like for no reason, but it was fun, you know. It could have been fun. And it was to an extent, but the teachers just like abused their power. The end of junior year, Dr. Ooh, I almost said her name. She basically, after our juries and everything, she gathered some people who were like, basically like they already knew at that point they weren't gonna be actors. They weren't gonna be moving forth in this field after high school. And she was like, do you want to take something else? You know, cool beans, cool beans. We'll get you in another class so you're not going to acting D. I've had every intention of being an actor, especially at that age. Like I was like, I am an actor. It wasn't I want to be an actor, I am an actor. So it got to me and she's like, what do you want to do? You know, like, what do you want to do, Philip? I want to be an acting D. This girl, like, she basically, I don't remember what happened in this moment exactly, but she made me jump through a fiery hoop to get into the final acting class with my classmates. Meanwhile, everyone else is just like in the class, whatever. She made me do like a directing analysis of like a fucking Shakespeare play. It was so dumb. I obviously didn't do it. I got it from a senior, like a person in the class above me who had done a directing analysis on that play, and I just like reworded things and like, you know, you did what I had to do because I wasn't about to do that. First of all, I did not have the mental stamina to write a 30 to 40 page directing analysis on fucking Hamlet or whatever it was. That has nothing to do with, you know, it was just abuse of power, obviously. I remember I gave her the directing analysis the last week of school, junior year, and she didn't look at me, didn't say anything. She just took it and threw it on her desk. I spent the whole summer before school having no idea if I was getting into the final acting class with my classmates, you know, everyone that I love and I've grown all these years with, and like my final year in high school, like it was a big deal. I wanted to do it. Kids should just be supported. It's that simple. Point blank period. So I had to wait the whole summer to go to orientation and then see on my schedule acting D. She just like tortured me basically, but I got in, whatever. So fast forward, the first week of school, first week of acting D, she's like, we gotta get you guys prepared for college. She prints out these things and we pass them around, and she's like telling us about college, and there's a Bachelor of Arts and there's a Bachelor of Fine Arts and da da da. If I could go back with what I know now, I would not go to college. That's a scam. We will be doing a podcast episode on that, but I digress. So she explained the difference between BA, BFA, whatever, and I'm like, oh, I want to do BFA. I'm an actor. Like, that's what I want to do. When you are a senior in a motherfucking arts high school and you actually are one of the people who wants to do this with your life, and you're learning about like a fucking acting conservatory program, and you get to go to some other city and just be like a struggling artist, you know, doing your scenes in class, and like that sounds so appealing. So I was like, yeah, I want to do that. We fill out our things saying what we want to do, what do we want to major in, the schools we're kind of thinking of. Next class come in, she immediately says, okay, so I want to talk to you guys in my office. Philip, you first. I should have known hell was coming when she called me out first, because I was nowhere near her radar unless she was bullying me, you know. She took me in her office and she was like, you are not an actor. You will never be an actor. I watched your juries last year. There was not one moment of objective work. And now, listen, I understand. Now I can look back and I understand the bigger picture. When you're a child, you don't understand the bigger picture, because that is the bigger picture. At that point of my life, that was everything I knew. My reality was that school. She did hold power in my world. That crushed me. Are you kidding? So a single tear fell down my eye because this person who I think their opinion matters, I think it holds weight, is telling me I suck and I will never do the only thing, even in moments where I thought about killing myself because I was a teenager and it was just difficult living and I had some dark nights of the soul. And in those moments, the one thing that kept me going was thinking about my future, my desire to perform and entertain people and heal people with laughter. And this person is telling me that that is not a possibility. Yeah, that crushed me. A tear fell down my cheek very dramatically, and she was like, "Oh, see, and this is why you can't even handle simple critique." I'm like, "Okay." Didn't know simple critique was having your dreams crushed on a random Tuesday afternoon, but good to know. Good to know. I'll know for the future that this is just simple critique, okay? No need to worry, everybody. This was just simple critique. I go back into class and I'm crying, and my friend Shelby hugs me. I like push her off because I'm just like so over it. I'm so over the pity, and I'm like, whatever. Fuck it, I'm gonna be a teacher. That lasted about 5 minutes, thinking I was gonna be a teacher. And then I was like, fuck that hoe. But because of her, I did not audition for any college acting programs. I didn't really push myself in that way at all. And so that's just a taste. I mean, we had moments like where we were legitimately just scared. We're just kids, like existing, but we would like walk on eggshells, and you just never knew what you were gonna get with this woman. And that was the main teacher of our department. The other teacher, the male teacher, was a little weird with the boys, if you know what I'm saying. I don't think I was a star student enough to experience that, and so I never got any of that. I don't think anything ever has come out. I don't want it to come out, but I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't be surprised. And then you have our other teacher in our department who is like actually just a really kind, really supportive person. But because of the structure of art school and how it's, this is art, this is how you do it, and prestige, and she was looked down upon. She wasn't taken seriously because she was actually just a kind, supportive teacher like she was supposed to be. And that leads me to my next point. Aside from the bullying and abuse, we were taught that this is art, this is not. This is the right way to do art. And of course you learn about all these different types of theater and blah, 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 blah. But like, we really are told like, this is how you do art and this is how you don't do art. And it creates this sort of rigidity with art and creativity and how you view art. Nowadays, again, it's just such a different world. I really feel like millennials got the tail end of the old world, especially in the theater world. You were typecast. Like you have to fit the type. You have to fit the role. It wasn't all about diversity and all that stuff like it is nowadays and celebrating differences. It was like you either fit the role or you don't have a role. There was just a lot of like feeling like you had to measure up to a certain level. You had to be a certain way, and you always felt wrong. At least that's kind of the vibe that I got. I'm sure other people had different experiences because there were people who were actually getting roles. By the way, in my senior year, I was cast in this 3-act French farce called Paradise Hotel that the male teacher was directing, and it was so fun. Honestly, I didn't realize I was peaking in high school in terms of like so far, like the best acting opportunity I've been given. That and the other show that I did that year, like they literally overlapped. I did a community theater original work and then did that at my school, and they were the best acting experiences I've had. Yeah, I was fucking incredible, and anyone who saw it told me that, and I know that that's not them blowing smoke up my ass. I really felt it, and I know that. And then she came into class the day after the opening night, and she was like, "Philip, I didn't know you could act." And it's like, girl, out of my face, out of my face. I digress. But yeah, there was just always this like one way to do it, one way to look, and one way to behave. And then that causes you not only to feel like you're not good enough, but because you feel that way, I find with myself and a lot of people I know, we're really good at critiquing and like criticizing other people's art. But it's like, what are you doing? We're not doing shit, but we're able to be like, I did not like what I saw. It was just, where is the passion? Where? And I think that stems from that idea that this is art, this is not, this is right, this is wrong. And then you don't measure up, you don't feel right, but you feel like you are able to tell others what's right and what's wrong. And the art school politics, let's talk about that. There were just clear favorites. There were ass kissers. There were students who just really like played the games because they wanted straight A's that badly. And I don't blame them. Like that is their journey. They were like, I gotta get straight A's to go to the college I want to go to. And they're literally successful and on the path they wanted to be on. And I'm so happy for them. That just wasn't my vibe at the time at all. It felt very degrading. And at the end of the day, we're kids. Like, there's no right or wrong response to the way we're being treated. But I saw the fiery hoops they wanted me to jump through, and I was like, girl, anyway, I'm gonna go back to sleep. There were other kids in my class who saw the fiery hoops, you know, jumped clear through that shit so clean. Not a stitch of fiber on their t-shirt was singed by the flame. The ass kissers got special treatment. And then this wasn't even something I realized until a couple years ago, maybe. I'm glad that I was cast in like a couple shows my whole time at the school, because there were people who never got cast. The whole reason we're there is because we want to actually do this stuff. And obviously we get to do stuff in classes, but it's not the same as like being on stage with an audience. But I really didn't get that much. A lot of people who were getting cast, even though it's obvious, I didn't add this like 2 and 2 in my brain until like recently, they were cast all the time because their parents were donating money to the school. First of all, I don't know how our school was like operating. I mean, like, we're a public arts school. I don't know how we ever had money. And I think it legitimately, now looking back, I'm pretty sure that's only because of the parents that donated money. It was called like boosters or something. I had a broke single mom, if I'm being quite honest. She didn't have nothing to give at that time. For me, like, I always wanted to be in a musical, and I would ace the vocal audition. I would belt my heart out, and people would be like, oh my god, I didn't know you could sing. I would get a call back from the vocal audition and go to the dance audition, and girl, I really regret never taking a dance class. I'm pretty sure if I just took a handful of dance classes and I like knew how to move in my body, I had a little more like presence in my body and like functionality and ability to pick up choreography, I could have passed a dance callback. But it was like, it's like one of those nightmares where you're not prepared and you have to go perform. That's how like dance auditions felt for me. I honestly never want to be at a dance audition in my life ever again. I mean, I never will be, I don't think, so I don't have to worry about that. But when you know you have to go do the dance and you don't know the dance, you don't know the dance and you're about to embarrass yourself. Yeah, I don't miss that. I don't like that. I digress. I don't remember what my point was. When you think about it, art schools are a microcosm of the industry. And when you look at the industry like Hollywood or even Broadway, it is a system built on abuse of power. The directors, the producers are abusing 9 times out of 10 the talent, because we are like, yes, please give me an opportunity. And you just want more than anything to perform. That desire and vulnerability is abused. This is still obviously present in the world, but it's obviously shifted in the past few years because of Me Too and the world just shifting into a more conscious place of being like, whoa, why have we always been living like that? So it's kind of changing now, but when we were kids, that was just like the way it was. Being abused by a director just kind of felt like the way that it is as an artist, and that suffering artist, struggling artist, starving artist, whatever trope that we're sold, that it's like, oh, I'm struggling for my art. That's so unhealthy and not fucking real. It's not real. Like I was talking about the black and white, like this is art, this is not. We're also lied to about what being an artist is and what being a successful artist is. Like when I was living in LA, I would say, I'm an actor. Oh, what have I seen you in? And it's like, bitch, nothing. Nothing. Or when I would say I'm a stand-up comedian, people would be like, oh, tell me a joke. I get it. No harm, no foul, but it's just like this weird thing. It's almost like you have to prove yourself. For what? For what? We've been conditioned to think that being rich and famous is the only thing that equals success as an artist, and that literally couldn't be further from the truth, because only about 1% of people are rich and famous. And it turns out, as much as I thought almost my entire life into my 20s that that's what I wanted, I don't want that at all. Wealthy, yes, and I am wealthy. I will continue to grow my wealth and expand my wealth. I don't need to do all that to become wealthy, and there's nothing wrong with being wealthy. But being famous, when I was growing up, I thought I wanted to be like, you know, famous. I don't want that at all. That's very uncomfortable, and it actually seems very unhealthy and unhappy. If I'm being honest, that's just my perception of it, and I'm sure everyone has a different experience. I digress, but that's not the only way to be successful. That's like 1% of artists, especially nowadays. And I'm so grateful to be living when the internet exists, There are so many ways to succeed as an artist and actually make a living as an artist. And honestly, it doesn't matter if you're making a living or not. If you're just being creative, you are an artist. One thing I could not stand when I was in LA is people would be like, aspiring actor. No, you're either an actor or you're not. What do you mean aspiring? If you say I'm aspiring actor, you're never going to succeed because you're identifying as someone who is aspiring. Like you either are or you aren't. I get it. Like you want to have credits and stuff. I get it. But like, no, you either are or you aren't. And honestly, I just did not enjoy being in LA. I just didn't like this feeling that I kind of had to degrade myself and change who I was or my values. And I'm not saying you have to do that, but that was just the energy out there. People are just ready to sell themselves, sell their soul to get a vapid form of success. And I'm generalizing and I'm not trying to put that on everyone, but I'm just saying that is the general vibe of the industry. And I was so turned off. And that's what pushed me to creating my own work. And that's why I created my web series Gay Accent. I made a few other projects since then because I wanted to take the power back. I didn't want to be at the mercy of people in power, feel like I have to grovel at their feet for an opportunity. And that's if I get like, I'm supposed to just wait my whole fucking life for someone to say, here you go. Here's the most amazing, perfect opportunity when I can just create that myself. Yeah, I'm going to create it myself. I digress. Basically, I started to notice that I'm blocked creatively. Why do I have all this resistance to recording a podcast, to screenwriting, something that I've done and had lots of success with in the past, filmmaking, things I love and I want to do, performing stand-up. I have all this resistance to doing these things that I love and that are fulfilling. But then when it comes to drawing, I don't have that resistance. I never feel resistance to drawing. When I draw, it's always just fun, enjoyable, and then I end up with this drawing that's like incredible and I'm like, I did that? Are you serious? Now, drawing was the very first creative outlet I had as a kid. I did it every day and night. It just wasn't how I identified. Like I was like, I'm a performer, I'm this, I'm that. Of course, I'm all these things and I can do all of them, but I never pursued being a visual artist. And I still don't identify that way. I identify as a filmmaker, a comedian, a screenwriter, a writer, an actor, those kind of things. So why is it that I feel resistance to doing the things that I love and identify as and are fulfilling to me? But drawing, I don't feel that. And I can always just easily pick up a pencil and a sketchbook and draw. And then I realized, oh, I was never in a position with drawing where there was a person standing over me in power telling me that's right, that's wrong, that's good, that's bad, this is your assignment, oh, you failed it. The creativity of drawing was never put in those confines. It was never blocked, is what I'm trying to say. So how do we unblock our creativity? Well, I will say the book The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron was a major help for me, bar none, hands down. I still haven't finished it. I think I'm on like week 7, but it's so helpful. It really helps you get to the root. For instance, the teacher of mine from high school who bullied me, I had to write a letter to her. And I feel like normally if I address this, I would try to be like all like higher self. But I understand you were suffering yourself. But like the author, she wanted me to write it from my child self. So I was like, all right, fuck that bitch. Like, she ain't shit. She's a miserable twat. And you're a fucking cunt. I just went in. I said how I felt. And it honestly was very healing just to get that out and like really address it once and for all. Anyway, The Artist's Way is so helpful. The main point of The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron is, there's all these little exercises and whatever. But the main meat and potatoes is every morning you are journaling 3 pages. And it can literally be anything. It can be like, I just farted. It could be, I slept so beautifully last night. It could be, I'm tired as fuck. It could be, I don't know what to write. 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 Anything. But you're writing 3 pages every morning, which for someone like me, I mean, obviously you can tell that's not an issue. But I know for some people, they're like, journal 3 pages. Oh my God. Like I said, anything you write is acceptable, but I think the purpose is to just get your thoughts out. That's very, 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 very helpful. I have been a journaler since I was a child. When I moved back home, I found journal entries written in glitter gel pen from like 2004 or 2005, talking about how I just watched The Simple Life with Nicole and Paris. Journaling has always helped me. Helps to really get your thoughts out. But also, if you're writing words on a page, you're being creative and pushing yourself to do more of that than you think you can even do. Creativity is like it's a flow. It's like anything. Once you just get into the groove of it and get that momentum going, you're moving. And so the morning pages are so helpful. Helps you organize your thoughts, all that stuff. There's also the artist date. She wants you every week to take yourself by yourself to do something fun. And that's also helpful because if I'm being honest, I was not prioritizing fun. That's just so important. And it's something that we know, but we don't always do. We're too busy trying to pay bills and like work and like putting work ahead of ourselves. Money, money, money. No. You, fun, fun, fun. Life is meant to be enjoyed. So this week, what do you want to do for yourself? Because you deserve it. And your mental health, your spirit will be fuller for it. Those are the main meat and potatoes of the book, but there's a lot of other exercises and helpful thoughts. And I really recommend that book. It has honestly transformed my life. Obviously, I'm not done with it, but I'm still growing and learning and pushing myself. But I do feel a lot more unblocked than I did before. So I'm just trying to build new habits like this podcast, writing more often, drawing. I did join an art class through my city's art league, and I happen to live down the block from the art center where they do the classes, and that has been such a bright spot in my week every week, seeing these people who live in my community and how talented they are, and also how much I've learned and how much I've grown in my drawing skills so quickly. The stuff I've drawn the past couple months has been like, wow. And that's also a testament to what we can accomplish when we're not blocking ourselves and we don't feel that way. My aim is to get that with my super passions, filmmaking and stand up and writing, you know. I write for my day job now, which is great, huge accomplishment. I write for a marketing agency, but I'm like, not like the writing I want to do, but which is funny because she definitely called that out in the book. She was like, the blocked artist and blah, 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 and writers, they will write for marketing. Yeah, that's what happens. You allow yourself to do it, but like not exactly the way you want to do it because you don't see that as realistic. Again, it all ties back to what we're taught, what we learn. And there's only this much space for people to succeed. There's only this many spots. None of that is true. None of that is true. I digress. Keep in mind there's no right or wrong. The whole point is just to have fun. Even if you want to color in a fucking coloring book. Literally, I made a short film with an iPhone. Double Aquarius, my short film that's coming out soon. Literally made on an iPhone. Shot, edited, I mean, not edited on the iPhone, but like, I edited it with iMovie. What I'm trying to say is shit has never been easier to do. Kind of like what I was talking about in the last episode of Just Fucking Do It. Even if you just set a timer for 15 minutes, do what you love, it will transform your life. I think the more creatively fulfilled you are, the wealthier you will become, the freer you will become, the more fulfilled you will be in general. Because when we're exercising our creativity, there's nothing more powerful than that. That is literally the highest vibration there is, and that's really tapping into like God's energy, you know, the creator. When you're creating something, that is the highest vibration there is. And when you allow yourself to really get in the creative flow with your highest self and your passion and purpose, you will open up the most beautiful doors in your life. You will plant the most beautiful seeds effortlessly just because you are exercising your most highest power, which is creativity. I implore you, even if it's for 15 minutes this week, 15 minutes a day, whatever you want, to just do what you love creatively. Check out The Artist's Way. Start to unblock yourself. Journal every day. You know, whether you went to an art school, and decided it wasn't for you, or you've done none of that, but you've still had these negative ideas about being an artist because of the way we're conditioned, we're letting that go. You are an artist. You don't have to prove yourself to anybody. You don't have to be like anybody. If you want to be creative, please be creative. The world will be better for it, and your life will become better for it. If you start nurturing your creativity and your creative passions and letting that flow more often than not, you'd be surprised how quickly you could leave your day job and live a more fulfilled life, an easier life, a life you really love. I digress. Alrighty, I think you guys get the point. I'm grateful to be where I am. I'm so happy. I'm healing. And I hope that this resonated with you in some way, shape, or form and helped you heal a little bit or laugh, or if nothing else, it was just entertaining and helped you get through your day. Anywho, I digress. Please subscribe to the podcast if you're listening on a podcast platform. If you're watching on YouTube, yes, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear about your healing journey, your experience in art school or in the industry, and how you're overcoming these toxic ideas that we've been taught. Until next time, I digress.